Hello, thank you for being here. I would like to talk to you today about something that affects us all, and that would be our healthcare. But not just yours or my personal healthcare, this would be the healthcare system in total. I would like to touch on, do we need healthcare reform? How is healthcare run in other countries? What is the government role in healthcare? How much is it going to cost the taxpayers to reform it? And some other ideas that aren't currently in congressional bills. Will Wilkinson said, "We don't hate our healthcare plans, we hate our healthcare system." And in 2008, there was an estimated 307 million Americans. And in media reports, there are between 40 and 50 million uninsured Americans. But according to the CBO, 10 million Americans are uninsured after 4 months. So how is healthcare run in other countries? Well, there's the single-payer system that's used in Britain, Spain, Canada. And in that system, the government pays the majority of the healthcare bills. The problem with it is there's generally higher taxes, longer lines, poorer service. There's the European model, which is run in France and in Germany, which is a mix of insurance and government spending. The only problem with that is that generally there's higher costs out of pocket for the population, and there's also the extra cost of having to carry extra insurance. A little known fact would be that even in these other models, which have been adopted by other countries, their heads of state, their prime ministers, and tens of thousands of their population actually come to the United States to seek treatment for cancer. So what is the government role in healthcare? Well, according to the congressional plans, they would like to see a centralized agency set up to regulate what healthcare plans are still available. The president's plan, he doesn't have one. He has mentioned in the past that he would like a single payer system like the Canadian system. But what does our Constitution say? Well, our Constitution doesn't say anything about healthcare. It doesn't say that we have to be forced to pay for anything. So what's it going to cost? Well, again, the president doesn't have a plan, so there is no cost to that. The congressional plan, which would be the House plan, would cost over $1.05 trillion per year. Well, what if we did nothing? It wouldn't cost us anymore, but we still would have these uninsured people that do generally need help. How about some other ideas? Well, the Republicans, they have some plans which will lower the deficit by 68 million, but will only cover 3% more people. How about some ideas that aren't, say, single payer? Well, there's tort reform, which is a way of saying we need to change the way that we sue the doctors and sue the hospitals for their care or lack of. We need portability. We need to be able to keep our insurance to the individual and not to the employer. There also needs to be no state boundaries on insurance companies. I looked up how many health and accident insurance companies are licensed by the state of North Carolina, and there are 80. Yet when I looked at how many are licensed by to actually work in the United States, there are over 1,300 insurance companies. We need to have no state boundaries. We need to have competition. And finally, we need to expand Medicaid and Medicare. According to the CBO, 15 to 20% of that 10 million who are chronically uninsured actually qualify for state or federal plans. So in conclusion, do we even need reform? Yes. Yes, we do need reform. Anytime we have people who, through catastrophic injuries or illnesses, are destitute, we need to be able to help these people. We've seen that single-payer system in other countries generally doesn't work. There's longer lines. They even come to our country to get diagnostic imaging and to get cancer treatment. What is the government's role? According to our Constitution, it's nothing. They should not be forcing it upon us. What's the cost of the plans? Well, they range from dropping the deficit by 68 million to raising our deficit over 1.05 trillion per year. That's a staggering number. Our complete budget for a year is only 4 trillion. That raises it by 20%. And there's some other ideas such as tort reform, portability, expanded Medicaid and Medicare, and I believe that's the best way to go. Now, I did pass out to each of you a form here that shows we're going to change the system for that 10 to 15 million people when we've got over 270 million people that are just fine with it. I thank you for your time, and I hope you have a good night.